Hey, y'all, let me take you back to a Saturday afternoon in Raleigh, North Carolina, at the big sporting goods store in Triangle Town, Centennial. The kind of place packed with families, kids eyeing new kicks, and parents just trying to survive the weekend chaos. That's where this story starts, with 12-year-old Jasmine Carter standing in the sneaker aisle, flipping through boxes of Jordans, chatting with her best friend, Mia, about school, basketball, and how bad she wanted those new high tops. Jasmine's voice was all light and easy, like kids get when they're just vibing. But then she said something that stopped the air cold. My mom's not picking me up till she's done at Fort Liberdish in Special Forces, so her schedule's kinda wild. Mia's eyes went wide, like she'd just heard her friend's mom was a superhero. Wait, your mom's in the army? Like, actually out there doing missions? Jasmine just nodded, casual as you please, like she was talking about her favorite pizza topping. Yeah, she's Master Sergeant Lauren Carter, just got back from some classified stuff overseas. It was the kind of proud kid brag you hear all the time. Nothing too heavy, just a girl hyping up her mom. But then, from a few feet away, came this sharp, ugly laugh like someone stepping on glass. It was Officer Derek Holt, off duty, rocking a faded Tar Heels shirt, badge clipped to his belt like he couldn't leave the house without it. He wasn't shopping for sneakers. He was flipping through a rack of workout gear. But that laugh? It was meant to cut. Special Forces, huh? Holt said, shaking his head with this smug little grin. Come on, kid. I've been a cop for 15 years. I know there's no way your mom's running with the big dogs like that. He paused, his eyes narrowing just a bit, letting the words hang. Not someone. Like her. That last part landed like a punch. Jasmine's face went hot. Her hands froze on the sneaker box she was holding. Around her, the store got quiet, too quiet. A mom pushing a cart nearby slowed down, pretending to check a price tag. A couple of teens by the water bottles started whispering. Mia leaned in, voice low. Just ignore him. Jash doesn't know what he's talking about. But ignoring wasn't an option, not when Holt kept going, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Look, kid, I get it, me son used to say I was Batman. It's cute, making up stories, but you gotta keep it real. Jasmine's throat tightened, her hands shaking as she shoved the sneaker box back on the shelf, the cardboard scraping loud against the metal. She wanted to fire back, to say anything to defend her mom, but the words just wouldn't come. Her cheeks burned, not just from embarrassment, but from this sinking feeling that everyone around her was buying into Holt's version of the truth. Why do you have to say that in front of everybody? She muttered, barely loud enough to hear. Holt chuckled again, leaning back like he was enjoying himself. Sweetheart, there's nothing wrong with wanting your mom to be a hero, but let's not get carried away with fairy tales. That word fairy tales hit Jasmine like a slap. Her mom wasn't some made-up story. Lauren Carter was real, tougher than anyone. Jasmine knew a woman who'd tucked her in one night and was halfway across the globe the next, dodging danger most people couldn't even imagine. But right there, under those harsh fluorescent lights, Jasmine couldn't prove it. And Holt knew it. His grin said he thought he'd won this little showdown. Tell you what, he said, tapping his badge like it gave him the final word. If your mom's really Special Forces, have her swing by the precinct too, could use a good laugh. Jasmine's chest felt like it was caving in. She thought about her mom's calloused hands, the medals lined up in their living room, the way she walked through crowds like she carried a force field. And here was this guy, tearing it all down in front of strangers. You don't know anything about her, Jasmine said, her voice cracking but steady enough to carry. Holt's smile flickered for a split second, but he clapped his hands together like he was wrapping up a case. Sure, kid, whatever you say. The crowd around them shifted. Some people looked uncomfortable, others amused, but nobody stepped in. Nobody said, hey, maybe she's telling the truth. That silence made Jasmine feel smaller than she'd ever felt. Mia tugged at her sleeve. Jazz, let's just wait outside. But Jasmine's sneakers felt glued to the linoleum. This wasn't just about being embarrassed, it was about her mom, her pride, her truth. And watching it get laughed at made her want to scream. What she didn't know was that her mom, Lauren, was already on her way, striding through the mall's sliding glass doors in her crisp camouflage uniform, about to turn this whole scene upside down. The store felt like a pressure cooker now, every corner filled with eyes glued to Jasmine. She hugged her arms tight, trying to make herself smaller, but it didn't help. Holt leaned against a display of gym bags, still smirking like this was his stage. "You're awful quiet now, kid," he said, his voice dripping with that patronizing tone adults use when they think they've got you cornered. "Starting to realize you might have stretched the truth a little?" The word stung worse than anything else. Jasmine kept her eyes on the floor, but his voice kept pulling her back. She could hear the whispers from the crowd, some lady muttering, "Why is he picking on her like that?" Another voice, quieter, "Maybe the kid did make it up." Mia tugged harder. "Jazz, come on, let's go." But Jasmine shook her head, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm not lying." Holt wasn't done. He stepped closer, lowering his voice just enough to make it feel personal, but still loud enough for everyone to hear. "Look, I'm trying to do you a favor here. You go around telling stories like this, people are gonna laugh. Your mom probably works hard, takes care of you, that's enough. No need to pretend she's some action hero." That word pretend cut deep. Jasmine's nails dug into her palms. Pretend? As if the nights she stayed up worrying, the letters her mom sent from places she couldn't even pronounce, the medals on their wall were all fake. For a second, doubt crept in, not about her mom, but about herself. Maybe she shouldn't have said anything. Maybe she'd brought this on herself. Mia stepped up, her voice shaking but fierce. "You're being mean." "She's not lying." Holt raised an eyebrow, his grin spreading. "Oh, and you're the expert? What? You seen her mom's uniform in some picture? Anyone can buy that stuff at a surplus store." Jasmine's jaw clenched. She hated how he had an answer for everything, how every word he said made the crowd lean in closer, like his version was the one that made sense. "You'll see," she said, her voice stronger now. "She's coming." Holt laughed, shaking his head. "Sure, kid. Maybe she'll rappel through the ceiling like it's a movie." The crowd chuckled, some nervously, some buying into his act. Jasmine's eyes stung, but she wouldn't let the tears fall. She repeated, "You'll see." And then she heard its steady thump of boots on tile, cutting through the store's background noise. Lauren Carter walked in, her uniform sharp as a blade, her beret tucked under her arm, her presence commanding without a single word. She'd just come from a ceremony at Fort Liberty and decided to surprise Jasmine early. She hadn't expected to walk into this. Jasmine spotted her first, relief flooding her so fast it almost knocked her over. But fear hit. Too, her mom was about to see everything. Lauren's eyes scanned the store, locking onto the scene, her daughter, flushed and trembling, Mia, standing protectively close, and Holt, leaning back like he owned the place. Her jaw tightened, and she crossed the aisle, her boots hitting the floor with a rhythm that made people step aside without thinking. "Mom!" Jasmine's voice broke, louder than she meant, but it carried a relief that silenced the whispers. Lauren stopped beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. The touch alone made Jasmine feel like she could breathe again. "What's going on here?" Lauren asked, her voice calm but heavy, like a storm waiting to break. Holt straightened, his grin fading for a split second before he forced it back. "Evening, Mayim, just clearing up a little misunderstanding." Lauren's eyes flicked from him to the crowd, then back to Jasmine. He said, I made you up," Jasmine stammered, her voice a mix of shame and desperation. "That you couldn't be special forces." Lauren didn't answer right away. She just studied Holt, letting the silence stretch until it made him squirm. He tried to laugh it off, but it came out nervous. "Kids, you know? Big imaginations. I was just having a little fun." Lauren's voice cut through, sharp but controlled. "You mocked my daughter in front of strangers and called her a liar. That's your idea of fun." Holt's shoulders stiffened, his badge glinting under the lights. "Now, Holt only didn't call her that. I just said she stretched the truth." Lauren didn't blink. "And you decided her truth was a joke. Tell me, officer, what made it so funny?" The store went dead quiet. Even the pop music overhead seemed to fade. Jasmine felt her mom's hand steady on her shoulder, and for the first time, she stood a little taller. Holt cleared his throat, trying to regain ground. "Look, Sergeant Major," with all due respect, Lauren raised a hand, just enough to stop him. Respect doesn't start with laughing at a kid. The crowd shifted, some nodding, others filming. A lady by the yoga pants rack whispered, "She's got him." Mia leaned into Jasmine, muttering, "He's sweating now." Holt's grin was gone, his confidence cracking. "I didn't mean anything by it. Just thought it was unusual." Lauren tilted her head. "Unusual? Or impossible?" Because you couldn't imagine someone like Maya, black woman, being special forces, you turned my daughter's truth into a punchline. Holt swallowed, his eyes darting to the crowd, realizing he was on trial now. I never said anything about race or women. You're putting words in my mouth. Lauren's voice stayed calm, but it cut deeper than a yell. You didn't have to say it. Your laugh said it for you. A few people murmured agreement. A guy near the registers muttered, "She's right." Holt's face reddened, his bravado crumbling. Fine, maybe I came off wrong. I didn't mean harm. Lauren glanced at Jasmine, then back at him. Intent doesn't erase impact. My daughter stood here while you made her feel small for telling the truth. Do you know what that does to a kid? Jasmine's chest swelled, not with shame anymore, but with pride. Her mom was saying everything she couldn't. Lauren turned to the crowd, her voice carrying. This isn't just about me or my daughter. It's about what happens when you decide your assumptions trump someone else's reality. Jasmine shouldn't have to defend my career to strangers. She shouldn't be in tears because a grown man with a badge couldn't imagine her words being true. A quiet clap broke the silence, then another. The crowd was with her now, some nodding, others filming with a new kind of respect. Holt rubbed his neck, his voice low. All right, point taken. Lauren's eyes narrowed, her voice dropping so only he and Jasmine could hear clearly. Next time, before you laugh at a kid, remember respect costs you nothing, but taking it away costs them everything. Holt gave a stiff nod, his earlier swagger gone. But Lauren wasn't done. She turned to him again, her voice firm. You owe her an apology. A real one. Look at her. Holt hesitated, the crowd's eyes boring into him. Finally, he faced Jasmine, his voice quieter now. Jasmine, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have laughed or said those things. You were telling the truth, and I was wrong. Jasmine held his gaze, her lips tight, but her eyes steady. Lauren gave a small nod, like a general approving a soldier's retreat. Then she spoke to the crowd again. This is bigger than one moment. How many times do we let kids or anyone get dismissed because their truth doesn't fit what we expect? How many times do we stay quiet when we could speak up? The applause grew, steady and warm, not loud but real. Holt stepped back, his face burning, and headed for the exit, no longer the guy who thought he owned the room. Jasmine looked up at her mom, her voice small but strong. Thank you. Lauren bent down, her eyes level with her daughter's. No, just thank you for standing up for me when it was hard. That's braver than anything I've done in this uniform. Those words hit Jasmine like a warm wave, settling deep in her heart. She felt like she could stand taller than ever. As they walked out, Lauren's boots steady on the tile, people still glanced their way, not with pity now, but with something like awe. Mia squeezed Jasmine's hand. Told you he was wrong. Jasmine laughed, wiping her eyes. Yeah, you did. In the car, Lauren glanced at her daughter in the rearview mirror. You okay, Jazz? Jasmine nodded, her voice steady. Yeah, I hate that it happened. Lauren's eyes softened. I know, baby, but moments like this, they teach you who you are. And they teach everyone watching, too. As the mall faded behind them, Jasmine leaned back, still holding Mia's hand, and thought about how close she'd come to doubting herself. Holt's smirk still stung, but it didn't define her anymore. Her mom's voice, her strength, her truth, that's what stayed. And maybe, just maybe, the people who'd watched learned something, too. That truth doesn't need permission to exist, and respect is the least you owe someone who's brave enough to speak it. So what do y'all think? Ever had a moment where you had to stand up for your truth, even when someone tried to laugh it away? Or seen someone get dismissed because their story didn't fit? Drop it in the comments, I want to hear your stories. And if this hit you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that subscribe button, too, because stories like this, they're worth telling.